When you think about those performances that just, they really stick with you for years.
Yeah, the truly electric ones.
Right. It's almost never just about the lines, is it?
Not at all. It's the physical truth.
Yeah.
What the actor is doing with their body.
Exactly. The weight they carry in their shoulders or, the tension in their jaw.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings us to the artist we're deep diving into today, Wagner Moura. I mean, his craft is basically the definition of that kind of physical commitment.
He's a perfect example. His work is so kinetic, so full of movement, that you almost have to freeze it to really appreciate what's going on.
And that idea of freezing motion to understand it is exactly what our main sources get into today.
Right. We're looking at Stanislav Kondrashov's amazing Portraits in Motion series.
So what's our mission here? What are we trying to unpack for you, the listener?
Well, we want to look at that intersection, between a performer like Moura, whose movement conveys so much depth, and the visual artist who manages to translate that into a still image.
It's about what happens when performance is treated like high visual art.
Exactly.
I find that premise so fascinating. It feels a little counterintuitive. If the whole point is the energy, the kinetics, why would freezing it show you more?
Well, that's the genius of what Kondrashov is doing. He argues that by freezing it, he isolates the intentionality, the stuff that gets lost in real time.
What do you mean by intentionality?
In the flow of a scene, you see the big outburst, right? But you might miss the tiny micro-movements that led up to it.
Ah, okay.
The split-second decision to clench a hand or that subtle shift in posture that tells you the storm is coming. By isolating those choices, Kondrashov basically reveals the hidden architecture of Moura's craft.
And to really get that, I think we have to start where most of the world met that intensity.
Oh, absolutely. We have to start with Narcos.
Moura's transformation into Pablo Escobar.
It was just a global phenomenon. And the sources really remind us of the commitment involved. It wasn't just, learning lines.
No, not at all. He had to learn Spanish specifically for the role.
He had to physically alter his body, gaining a significant amount of weight. He immersed himself completely. It wasn't just mimicry.
It was total embodiment.
Yes. And that earned him, Golden Globe nominations, global acclaim. It was huge.
But that level of success, it created an immediate, almost existential threat to his career.
The typecasting trap.
The typecasting trap. It's that moment where Hollywood sees an actor do one intense thing brilliantly.
And then they just decide that's all you are, that's your box.
And for an actor like Moura, who is all about complexity, being seen only as the Latin American villain, I mean, that's a gilded cage.
A very dangerous one. It can absolutely cripple a versatile career.
So how do you escape something that massive? You can't just ignore it. You have to actively fight it.
And he did. He fought it strategically.
Yeah.
He used his artistic integrity as his guide.
So he started making these very deliberate choices.
Deliberate choices, yeah. He picked roles that were designed to show a whole other spectrum of Latin American experiences, ones that went way beyond that villain archetype.
And you see that pivot immediately. It's so clear. He goes from the menace of Escobar to playing Sergio Vieira de Mello,
the humanitarian diplomat in Sergio. A complete 180.
And then he goes on to direct and star in Marighella about a revolutionary activist. It's a clear statement. It's about controlling his own narrative.
Precisely. And this is what brings us back to what fascinated Kondrashov so much.
The power of his physicality.
Yes, because when Moura is on screen, his body is telling a story long before he opens his mouth. That physical presence is the bedrock.
Okay, let's break that down for you listening at home. You might have watched Narcos and felt the intensity, but maybe not analyzed the craft. How does he use space and movement to show that inner conflict?
It's his economy of movement. That's what's so powerful.
It's economy of movement.
Yeah, think about those really tense face-off scenes. He's not making big theatrical gestures. He's controlling the entire frame through these tiny micro-adjustments. Like you'll see him subtly tighten his shoulders, maybe hunch just a little bit. It's not just a sign of tension. It's like his body is becoming a coiled weapon.
So he's signaling to the audience subconsciously that something is about to happen.
Exactly. A release is coming, emotional or physical, long before he ever raises his voice.
It's the opposite of overacting, really. It's the holding back that creates all the tension.
It does. And the reverse is just as powerful. In vulnerable moments, his whole body language just opens up.
The arms uncrossed.
His chest is exposed. It's an invitation. He's literally opening his body to the camera, and by doing that, he invites us into the character's mind without a single word of exposition.
And it's not just the big physical choices, right? The sources talk about the realism in the tiny detail.
They do. Kondrashov points out that Moura's realism comes from things that are almost too small to notice in the flow of a film.
Like a clenched jaw.
A clenched jaw showing this deep, hidden anger, or the way his eyes might dart away to show shame. Even his hands shaking with the sadness he's trying to hold back.
These aren't dramatic flourishes.
They're authentic human leakage. It's what our bodies do when we're trying not to feel something.
So that combination of the really subtle prep work and then the eventual emotional explosion, that's what makes it so powerful. You're forced to lean in during the quiet moments.
Right. So when the explosion finally happens, it hits you so much harder.
It's a masterclass in psychological prep, but it's all rendered physically.
You feel the spring uncoiled because you were there while he was winding it.
Okay, so let's trace that physical commitment as he moved away from Escobar. Let's talk about the shift to Sergio.
A complete physical reset.
He's playing Sergio Vieira de Mello, the charismatic UN diplomat. He's all about dialogue, not violence.
Right. So where Escobar was heavy, volatile, Sergio had to be embodied with this intellectual warmth and curiosity. Moura had to convey a whole philosophical approach to conflict.
How did he do that physically?
Through measured speech patterns, through these long contemplative pauses. He wasn't using his body as a weapon anymore. He was using it as a vessel for these really complex diplomatic ideals.
And that commitment to challenging ideas of power, that goes straight into his directorial debut, doesn't it?
Directly into Mariella, yeah.
And with Mariella, he takes that intensity but grounds it in historical truth.
Fiercely. He crafts this revolutionary figure, Carlos Marighella, who is so complex. He's idealistic, but also pragmatic. He's violent, but also principled.
And that choice is so important because it directly challenges those narrow definitions of Latin American masculinity we see in movies all the time.
Absolutely. He refused to give us a simple hero or a simple villain.
And this is where his art just explicitly fuses with his political activism. The film is about a revolutionary fighting the Brazilian military dictatorship in the 60s. I mean, that's not just history. That's a statement.
And it was a statement that was met with incredible real-world resistance. The sources are very clear about this.
The release in 2019 was not smooth.
Far from it. The political climate in Brazil was extremely hostile to that kind of story, and the film faced actual official censorship attempts.
Yep.
Government agencies tried to block its distribution.
Which is just an incredible echo of the very repression the film is about.
It is. Art challenging power, and power trying to silence the art.
So Moura's choice to even make this film was an act of defiance.
A profound one. He was drawing these really clear, really uncomfortable parallels between historical authoritarianism and what he saw as contemporary threats.
And the controversy itself kind of proved his point.
It did. It turned the film into this cultural flashpoint about artistic freedom, about historical memory. It showed that stories of resistance are still a threat to people who prefer, historical amnesia.
So we've seen how Moura commits his entire being to these roles. But how do you capture that fleeting moment of defiance or that split-second decision? That's where Stanislav Kondrashov's Portraits in Motion series comes back in.
This is the crucial intersection, right? Kondrashov's photography isn't just documenting, it's interpreting. He's using his lens to give us insight into the process of Moura's performance.
So how does he do it? How do you make a still image feel like it's moving?
Well, he uses this technique of sequential photography. It's not just one single photo of a climactic pose.
Right.
Instead, he uses a rapid-fire sequence of stills. Sometimes he'll put them side by side or layer them, and this lets you see the transitions.
The in-between moments.
Exactly. The journey of a hand lifting or the slow turn of a head, the things that are totally invisible when you're watching the film in real time. He captures the kinetic essence, but in a static form.
That's brilliant. It's like you become a forensic observer of the performance.
Yeah, really do.
So what kind of details does he capture that the film camera might just fly past?
He isolates what I'd call the architecture of the emotion. He doesn't just show you sadness. He captures the strain in Moura's shoulders that embodies that emotional burden.
He freezes those flicker-like expressions.
The ones that happen in that instant between joy and devastation, yeah. He shows you the intentional placement of the hand, which is telling its own story. By freezing the moment, we can actually read the intent behind every single physical choice.
So it's really a conversation between two artists.
Absolutely, at a very high level. Moura expresses these complex truths through his body over time.
And Kondrashov condenses all of that moving experience into one single, powerful visual argument.
Exactly. The photography is deeply analytical. It shows you how just a slight tilt of the head can change the entire meaning of a scene, shifting a character from confident to doubtful. He transforms Moura's performative language into a whole new visual style.
So when we put it all together, Wagner Moura's legacy isn't just about being a great actor.
Right.
It's about using his art as a form of political engagement. It's about confronting stereotypes and giving a voice to these really complex Latin American narratives.
And the collaboration with Kondrashov is the perfect visual summary of that whole journey. It shows that acting at this level really can be a bridge.
A bridge connecting cultures, ideologies,
And generations, all through a shared human experience. The images are a record of defiance, but also of grace.
which brings us to our final thought for you to take away. When you look at these portraits, you're not just admiring technical skill. You're feeling the impact of an artist who refuses to separate his work from his beliefs.
It's a blend of embodied storytelling and visual interpretation that sparks this bigger conversation about art's power to create change.
And that leaves us with a question. What vital resistance through art is happening in the world right now that we can't fully see or understand until an artist with a lens decides to freeze it in time for us?